of you may already be hitting your food coma, and you might be thinking, oh gosh, I so could use a nap. So I want to help you out. This right here is the whole thesis of the next 30 minutes. So write it down. That way, if you need to take a little nap, engaging people in their faith involves finding the compelling reason, creating community, and then expecting them to live out their faith in their daily lives. I'll say it again, because seriously, this is important. Engaging people in their faith involves finding the compelling reason, creating community, and then expecting them to live out their faith in their daily lives. All right, I'm an old youth director, so everybody stand up. Now the introverts are terrified. But I am one of them, so we will join together and let's just sing, shall we? Amazing Grace. The words are up there in case you get troubled. But let us sing. And I'm turning my microphone off, and if you know me, you would know why.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. His grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, God of grace, we come to you today to learn, to grow, to be challenged, but also with thanksgiving and praise that you have gifted us in this church with spirit and with leaders. So as we continue on our journey today, Lord, give us energy, give us patience, give us wisdom, and give us discernment. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you. That was nice. So my name is Erin Morris. I am from Somerset, Ohio, this itty-bitty town. I grew up in a Lutheran church, actually St. Paul Lutheran Church. That's my little church. It's so cute. It was 25 people on a good day. That was the deal. We did not kneel, even though we had kneelers. I was convinced it was because half the congregation couldn't get back up if we did. Now, this little church, talk about history, 1818 is when this little church began. It was the first Lutheran church in Ohio, as well as where the Ohio Synod was founded. So I have this wonderful long line of history. And I turned off my microphone because, you see, I'm not a singer. Like, I love to sing, but God did not gift me with tone. And when I was a little kid, I have very concrete memories of standing on the kneelers we never used and singing so loud. And people loved it. Like, I was encouraged to sing. I was encouraged to give this gift to God, even though it really wasn't all that pretty. But I still did it. Because you see, I love church. That harmony of voices we just had, that's church. The fact that this is a pan-Lutheran event still mystifies me. That we have Evangelical Lutheran, Missouri Synod, and Wisconsin Synod Lutherans all together in one room for 6 years, and the world has not ended. That's why I love church. I love that when I'm sitting in a worship service, I know there are people in the same worship service that think radically different thoughts than I do, who grew up in radically different ways. And if we had a political discussion, it would not be pretty. But there is a time in that service when we all stand up, and with one voice, we confess one belief. I love church. I love that in a world where we are taught to be perfect, where I have to have the perfect spouse, the perfect child, the perfect house, I have to look perfect, I can come to a community with everyone else and confess, I'm not perfect. I can look around the room and I can admit in front of everyone else, I screwed up. I did not do what I was supposed to do. Even as a leader in the church, I've sinned. And I love that when I do that, I am met with words of grace and not shame. That I am given a blessing and not condemnation. I love church. That's why I do what I do. And I've been working in church for a really long time, and the love affair has gone back and forth. But I got to tell you, it's the reason I believe in church. What's your compelling reason why you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? Why do you believe what you believe in this faith of Jesus Christ that so eloquently you preached about? And that was a sermon, thank you very much. But why do you do what you do? I have a timer. I'm going to take 30 seconds. Write a note. Text it in your notes. What is your compelling reason for why you do what you do? So like Paul said, I have spent the majority of my life, 17 years, doing youth ministry. I got my undergrad in Kentucky. I'm from Ohio. Got my master's in Iowa. I went out to Colorado and worked, and now I'm in Minnesota. And actually, I am now been there for 7 years, and that is the longest place I have lived since I graduated high school. And even more interesting for me is I'm in the same apartment now for starting the 5th year, which is the longest I've been in one dwelling in my life since I graduated high school. And about a year and a half ago, I wanted to stay at the congregation where I was, but I wanted to do something different. I felt there was this push that we do a great job of engaging our youth in their faith, that they will do things beyond worship, that they will serve, that they will lead, but somehow we have missed the boat with our adults. That somehow we haven't learned to do those same kind of practices with our adults. And I do come from a very large congregation. And our new member process, oh, I love it, right? So we do a one-shot class, it's fantastic, has lunch, and then 2 weeks later they come to worship, we give them a carnation, and we say, hey, good luck with that. See ya. Like, seriously, that's it. We're like the huge church, and we just like, hey, hope that works out for you. And so I felt like there was something more we could do. So that's what I've begun to work with now at our church. And so it's been about a year, and so what I want to share with you is some of the things that have been kind of bubbling up as we've gone through this process. The first thing is in order to engage people, we must give them a compelling reason to do so, or tap into whatever their reason is. See, people are motivated by their heart, by their passion. They do things because they feel they can make a difference. Can everyone read that? Okay, good. They want to buy into a movement, something that's powerful. This is where a person was going to commit suicide, and if you look at that cop, he linked himself to her to let her know she was not alone. So that is, we have to figure out what is the reason. And again, Todd, this is just, I don't know if we work together or not, but you flow right into our reason is Jesus Christ, right? That is what we are doing. But if you look across the secular world, has anyone been to a Broadway show recently? Any of the ones that have traveled? They're doing this whole thing right now where Broadway is fighting a cause. That after they perform, the stars will all come out and they will talk about their cause. Right now they're fighting for AIDS. And then if you give money, they'll be at the doors. You can get pictures with the stars. You can get little gift bags, right? Tom's Shoes. Does anyone know Tom's Shoes? Right? Wonderful secular organization that if you buy their shoes, they will send a pair to someone in need. What does it say when the public, when that secular world is being more public about changing the world than the church is. So we have to help people find that compelling reason, and then we really have to be able to communicate it. Now, how many of you guys are liturgical churches? Right? You got a good liturgy? Not just the work of the people, but the actual liturgy. Can I tell you, I love liturgy. I'm a page 56er in the LBW. That has always been. Telling you what, page 56, that's my jam right there. And I almost brought it, but my wonderful church has closed down. And my mom found the LBW that was actually dedicated in her name, and she was the congregational president, and I have it. And so liturgy for me is not rote. It is not something stale. It is not something that I just say this and I'll make my grocery list while I'm saying it because I'm just that good. But when I am able to lead liturgy, when I am able to be with the people and to actually give forgiveness of sins, when I can look the congregation in the eye and say, you have been forgiven, it is a blessing and an honor. It is a reason to be. See, part of our reason can't just be, well, I'm Lutheran, that's what I do. I mean, we all see it, that people are not coming back to the church. There's no longer a, if we build it, they will come mentality. We actually have to feel it. We have to understand it. I'll keep looking down because I have a timer, and I know Mark gets really upset with the timing concept. So it's right here. It's going. Look, see, it's right there. Okay. We also know that our biggest commodity in the world is time, right? If you are a parent, bless you, but look at your calendars, right? They used to say, if you want to know in a church where the priorities are, look at the budget. If you want to know the priorities of a person's life, look at their calendar. If you are an empty nester, all of a sudden you think, yeah, I'm going to have all this time on my hands. And yet, there's more and more demands. Retirement, I love when I talk to people in retirement, and they say, yeah, I'm busier than I've ever been before. That's not exciting words for me. It's not what I want to look forward to. But time is our biggest commodity, and people will do things that they feel is worth their time. And so my question for you is, what is that compelling reason? Now, I'm going to speak about a church, and it's not a Lutheran church. It's actually a Methodist church. Church of the Resurrection in Kansas City. Has anyone heard of this church? Okay, you all need to check it out. It's a mainline denomination, right? It started 25 years ago with 9 people. It is now 4 campuses, plus an online community, worships 10,000 a weekend, and had 250 new members last month. So I was just down there for a conference, and Adam Hamilton is the senior pastor there, and he was talking about this concept of this compelling reason. And he talked about it Christmas Eve. You know, it's when we get all those wonderful seeing ears. We love them. And he said, you know, our offering should really be a lot more on Christmas Eve. We got a ton more people in. And he noticed that it really wasn't. Now, I'm going to throw some numbers, and these were unreal, but they, on a weekend, will take in $300,000. So that's what they count for their budget. And he said, all right, I don't think I've given people a reason to give. Like we just do our regular Christmas Eve stuff, and for the atheists, for the people who are just coming with family, that's not enough for them. So on faith, the leadership decided we will suspend that offering. So that $300,000 we count on, we're going to ask our members to continue their pledge in another place. 6 staff positions, but we'll do it. Then they created a reason to give. They chose a Kansas City organization, and they were working on wells in Africa. The whole sermon was about what is it like when Christ changes the world. And that offering was then designated for that purpose. They've been doing it now for 6 years, and their offering is over $1 million. It is a compelling reason to give and to understand who Jesus Christ is, not just in word, but in deed. So what are you giving your people as your compelling reason, and how are you communicating it? Now, the other thing I love, besides church, is coffee. Seriously, and I am a Starbucks snob. It happens that way. And I've actually worked for Starbucks several different times in my life, partly because you get free coffee, but partly it's also just, I don't know, instant gratification. You don't get that in ministry a lot. And I love, someone walks in, they're crabby, I give them coffee, they leave, they're happy, it's awesome. I'm not thinking late at night, oh, did I make that latte right? It's a great concept. But I love hospitality industry. I've been doing it for a long time, and actually studying at the Walt Disney Institute, which they do a phenomenal 4-day course on hospitality. It was unbelievable. But there's a reason why places like Starbucks and Disney are growing. It's because they actually care about people's experiences. And they're extremely intentional when people come to those places, what they're going to experience. So the next thing is engaging people in their faith involves creating a community in which they are noticed and experience something transformational. And seriously, people, what's more transforming than our God? We have the ultimate product, and it is the Holy Spirit. Now, Starbucks believes in a third place philosophy. Howard Schultz, who's the CEO, those of us who work there, we call him Howie. He says, we are the third place in the lives of millions of our customers. We are the coffee that brings people together every day around the world to foster conversation and community. So when I was working at Starbucks, you are at home, you are at work, or you're at Starbucks. And it is my job as the employee to make every single customer feel that they belong. So I am challenged to learn 3 customers' names every shift. And so that's why it's awkward when we ask you your name. You're like, gosh, that's kind of stalkery. But the goal is that the next time you come in, I can then say, Mark, how was your weekend? You went skiing. How did that work out for you, right? While I'm making your favorite beverage. So you walk in, you're known. I'm giving you exactly what you want. We're taught that good old customer suggestion. I love the deer in the headlights look. When someone walks into a Starbucks and they just have that I have no clue what I'm doing here kind of look. Because we're taught, okay, it's okay, we're going to get through this together. Let's start hot or cold. Right? Well, we'll narrow it down, and then we go tea or coffee, because we do both. And so that whole concept of making this a third place, what if the church took that same philosophy? Now, Walt Disney, I'm telling you, it's expensive, but it's so amazing. What they do is they teach you all these business context neutrals. And they teach it to you, and then they show you how Disney does it, and then they say, so how do you do it? One of the things they do is called a touch point map. Because you have to really understand, for someone to be welcomed, how they're experiencing your church. Now, this is not Disney's. I just Googled this. But it's a concept of where are all the places that your congregation touches someone appropriately. All right? So when you're going through your parking lot, how do they experience the parking lot? What's it like to get out of the car? How long is your walkway into the congregation? When they are greeted, what is that like? How about the bathrooms? Hello. Right? Is there good signage? And how are we welcoming new people into the congregation? If you actually assumed that no one knew what a Lutheran was, could they actually find the right pages in the LBW? And so you create this touch point map. And then you do a red light, green light, yellow light. So obviously reds are stop, hold, greens are yeah, yellow's like meh. And so then you begin to ask people what are their experiences. So what Disney says is that every time you go through this, you accumulate experiences. So if we were to take a restaurant concept, parking lot's beautiful, that's a green. You walk in, there's a line, that's a yellow. You made reservations, your table's not ready, red, right? But then the host comes over and says, oh, I've got free drinks for you at the bar, green. So you go through the whole entire evening accumulating these different lights. If you have more green and yellow, you'll go back. More red and yellow, you may not. But the more times you come back, the more experiences you have. So then let's say you have like the most horrible experience ever, that the parking lot is full, they lost your reservation, the meal is horrendous. If you still have had more green and yellows, you'll rarely go back. We'll chalk it up to a bad night. So I encourage you to make a touch point map of your congregation and see how people are experiencing it. Now, if you really, really want to go the extra mile, which is what Disney does, you create a survey and you send it to your visitors. Hey, we're just trying to understand ourselves a little better. We'd love for you to come and help us evaluate. If you're even more courageous, you go to your local businesses and you say, how do you experience us as a community? Because here's a question. If you were to shut your doors of your church, would your community notice? Oh, look at that. Ooh, I should have written that one on a slide. All right, one more thing, effective visitor follow-up. This is really scary. Following up someone coming back, the likelihood that someone will come back to your congregation. If you follow up with them 24 hours, there's an 85% chance. Follow up within 72 hours, there's a 60% chance. If you wait 3 to 7 days, there's a 15% chance. I just got my oil changed. I got an email follow-up within 24 hours. Right? I mean, think about all the services now that send the surveys out to follow up. Has anyone ever like not gone back someplace and then after a while they send you, say, hey, we haven't seen you for a while. If other businesses are doing that and our church isn't, you're not noticed. And again, as we learn more and more about just people in general, but millennials, they need to know that they matter. They need to know that people care about them. Now again, at Church of the Resurrection, one of the things they do is they do pew pads, this whole thing, but visitors, day of, someone shows up at their house with a coffee mug. They call it mugging. It's a 30-second, hi, my name is Erin. I know you worshiped at Church of the Resurrection. We are just so excited that you were there. And I just want you to know it would be an honor to be your pastor today. Have a great afternoon. Bam, in the car, done. Never enter the house. Now, you visit 3 times, someone from the staff calls you. Hey, notice you've been visiting 3 times. We've got this great class coming up. We're just so excited. What can we do for you? 5-time visitors, pastor calls. Hey, can we set up coffee? I noticed you've been coming. This is really, really awesome. I'd like to get to know you more. Now, they go the extra mile. They're like Disney. Once someone joins, if someone has not been in worship for 4 weeks, they get a phone call. Hey, we miss you. Everything okay? 12 weeks, pastor calls. How you doing? Oh, you're just taking the summer off? Totally understand. But we miss you. And in 1 year, if someone has not worshiped there for a year, then they send them a letter. Would you like us to remove you from our rosters because you're not participating in our community? They got 250 new members last month. We may think in our lovely little Lutheran way, oh, that's way too aggressive. It works. Just saying. So the question is, how are you creating community where they are noticed and experience transition and transformation? All right, now just so you know, before I met Paul Hill, I wasn't always this smart. I never knew I would work for a church. That was not my world. I had that calling, I had that time where it's like, oh, crap, I got to work for Jesus. So did not see that coming. And when I started to fill out the paperwork for Wartburg Seminary, which is a really great seminary, FYI, there's a check-the-box kind of concept of ordained ministry, diaconal ministry, AIM, assistance in ministry. And so I called Paul Hill, who was making me go to seminary, and I said, Paul, I know I don't want to be a pastor. Do I want to check another box? And he said, yeah, check diaconal. I said, oh, awesome, what is it? And he said, it doesn't matter, it's what you are. All right, so I checked the box. What a diaconal minister is a bridge builder. It is a ministry of linking the secular world and the sacred world. It's a way for the church to acknowledge and to help lift up those people who really see their vocation as a ministry. We're always tethered to a congregation, we're always called to a congregation, but we may not work in a congregation. This is a diaconal cross. You'll notice the crossbar there is this cyclical concept of constantly coming in and out. You think about how we've been talking. First, we've got to bring people into the church with a compelling reason. We got to welcome them. We got to notice them. And then eventually we're going to have to send them out. Now, working for a church, you guys know we have lots of conversations that are rather intriguing. I was in a restaurant that may serve alcohol one evening, talking to a gentleman who may have been single as I was, and he said, "So, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I work for a church." "Oh, awesome. I believe in God." "That's great. That's wonderful." "Yeah, I don't go to church." "Oh, that's okay. We're not out of church." And it's great being single in church. So he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, okay, tell me what that means then. You believe in God, you don't go to church, help me out." And he says, "Well, yeah, so I make lots of money." "Okay, good." And he says, and I'll do nice things. Awesome. He said, "And I'm buying really nice stuff." I'm like, "That's so great. That's so not a Christian." So I said to him, just because I believe in the color blue, it doesn't make me a Smurf. Right? Just because we say we believe in God, just because we say that we're Christian, if it doesn't go into the DNA, into the fabric of who we are, then it doesn't matter. And that is what we have to equip our people to know. That church is not just about coming to a building once in a while and doing something, but it truly is about our whole DNA. So we have to have relevancy. Engaging people in their faith involves expecting them to live out their faith in their daily lives. And the way we do that is making our church relevant. Now, I'm in conversation with a pastor right now who really hates the word relevant. Because when he hears that word, it automatically goes into a non-denom understanding of sermon series. Right? I mean, it's like, oh, if we're going to be relevant, then we have to talk about marriage for 6 weeks, and then we got to talk about, And so we're in this battle. So now I'm talking language like connected to. That's why I have a thesaurus of all the words of relevant to help you out as well. But this understanding that we have to make our faith connected to the daily lives of people, keeping it in our scriptural tradition. That is wonderful. One of the amazing things about being Lutheran is we have this awesome understanding of what being scriptural and interpretation is. And so one of the things I like to do is to help people develop a Christological lens, right? So that everything we see through the eyes of Christ. So we started this deal with a youth ministry called Jesus Goes to the Movies, and it happened because I watched this movie, Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Anyone seen that movie? Okay, spoiler alert, tears, huge. Takes place, World War II, yada, yada, yada. There's a German boy, there's a Jewish boy, as you can see in the picture. At one point in time, the Jewish boy's father goes missing, right? We all know what that is, missing. And so the German boy comes to the Jewish boy and says, "If you bring me a pair of those striped pajamas, tomorrow I will dig under the fence and I will help you find your father." And of course I went, "No!" Right? Dig him out. You're going to go get him out, get him out. And then I thought, oh crap, that's Jesus, right? Because Jesus doesn't dig us out of our problems. Jesus moves hell and earth to get into us and be with our problems. Now, the only reason I had that thought is because I have been so steeped in understanding who God is, it is no longer a separate part of my life. And that is what we have to help our people get to be, where they recognize that their faith is daily connected to who they are. Every decision they make with their time, with their money, with their parenting, with everything they do is connected to the core of their essence, which is in Jesus Christ. All right, I have 2 minutes. I'm so awesome. All right, the other thing, okay, really, you can say, "Yes, Erin, you are awesome." It's okay. Thank you. I'm humbled enough at work, so this is kind of nice. So Starbucks has this other philosophy that every person who works there, you know what we're called? We're partners. We're not employees. We're partners. And I talk about calling Howard, we call him Howie. When we get emails, little P on me, it's signed by Howie. And I have access to Howie because Howie thinks I matter. He thinks I'm part of the solution. What if we looked at our congregation and said, "You're part of the solution. You're not a consumer. You're not a congregant. You're a disciple." And so how do we really begin to help our congregation feel that kind of empowerment? How are you inviting and equipping people to live their faith beyond the walls? Now, I got to tell you, it's a little ironic I'm here. In 1993, I'm 41, by the way, so you can do the math. In 1993, I was in the Southern Ohio Synod, and they asked me to come to a conference called Will Our Faith Have Children? Right? So that was over 20 years ago. I'm here to say yes. Hello. It's right here. But I'm here because of intentionality. I'm here because someone said, hey, there's something in you that matters. And there's another someone, Louise over there, who said, here's how you do it. And so our faith will have children. We will change. We will not die because, one, it's not about us. Right? It is truly God's church, and God is not going to let this die. But there may need to be a rebirth. So let's end the same way we began. Let's rise and sing the final verse of Amazing Grace.